In at number 10, we have Charles Manson. First, my obedience-obsessed ogres, let's unpack what makes Manson not just a murderer, but a maestro of manipulation. He formed the Manson family, a cult-like commune where he exercised an almost hypnotic control over his followers. His charisma was so potent, it spurred them to commit unspeakable acts on his behalf. Imagine the magnetic pull he must have had to sway people into throwing their lives away for his twisted visions. Oh, my murder mystery misfits! The name Manson is forever tied to a series of chilling murders, most infamously the Tate LaBianca killings. Orchestrated by Manson but carried out by his followers, these crimes shocked the nation and shattered the naivety of an era. Though he never physically committed the murders, he was held responsible for orchestrating them, thereby earning him a lifetime of lunacy locked away. Ah, my sentence-savoring specters, gather round the crypt as we delve into a tale of eternal entrapment and lifelong lamentations. Tonight, we explore the top 10 inmates with unthinkable life sentences. In at number 9, we introduce Bernie Madoff. First, my scam-savvy specters, let's dissect the genius and the gall of Bernie Madoff. He orchestrated one of the largest and most complex Ponzi schemes in history. His fraud didn't involve selling snake oil or magic potions. Rather, he used the complex machinery of modern finance to create an illusion of guaranteed profits. He was, in essence, an illusionist of the financial world. Oh, my law-loyal leviathans, the hammer of justice fell hard on Bernie Madoff. He was sentenced to 150 years in prison, essentially a life sentence for a man of his age. This was a clear message that financial fraud of such magnitude would not go unpunished. In at number 8, we delve into the twisted tale of Ariel Castro. First, my snare-settling spooks, let's lay bare the monstrous acts of Ariel Castro. His abductions weren't just opportunistic crimes, they were meticulously planned operations that exploited the vulnerabilities of his victims. He seized upon their trust and familiarity, luring them into his lair, where he subjected them to unimaginable suffering. The court showed no mercy in sentencing Castro. He was handed a sentence of life imprisonment plus 1,000 years with no possibility of parole. This wasn't just a prison term, it was a pronouncement that society had no room for such malevolence. In at number 7, we examine the life and crimes of Terry Nichols. Hold on to your seats, my atrocity-analyzing apparitions. Nichols wasn't the lone wolf in the Oklahoma City bombing. He was the sinister sidekick to Timothy McVeigh. Together, they orchestrated a devastating explosion that killed 168 people, including 19 children, and injured hundreds more. The Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building was reduced to rubble, but the impact was felt far beyond that pile of bricks and mortar. Ah, my retribution-reveling revenants, when justice came for Nichols, it came with the weight of 161 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. This isn't a mere jail stint, it's a veritable eon in incarceration. In at number 6, we bring you a tale straight out of the cold, clandestine corridors of international espionage, Robert Hanssen. Listen closely, my subterfuge-savoring spirits. Hanssen didn't just commit run-of-the-mill crimes, he engaged in high-stakes espionage that endangered national security. For more than 2 decades, he provided invaluable secrets to the Soviet Union and, later, Russia. Intelligence, counterintelligence, the names of agents, his betrayal reached dizzying depths, costing the US an estimated loss of billions and compromising numerous covert operations. Oh, my justice-jubilant jackals, when Hanssen was finally unmasked, the sentence was uncompromising. 15 consecutive life terms with no possibility of parole. A clandestine collection of confinements that befit a man whose actions were tantamount to high treason against his country. In at number 5, we have a chilling tale of terror that struck at the heart of an iconic American tradition. My marathon malefactors, brace yourselves as we delve into the life and crimes of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the infamous Boston Marathon bomber. Listen carefully, my explosion-exploring entities. On April 15, 2013, Tsarnaev and his brother Tamerlan orchestrated a horrifying attack on the Boston Marathon using homemade pressure cooker bombs. The explosion killed 3 people, including an 8-year-old boy, and injured hundreds more, forever scarring a day of athletic celebration with the ghastly imprints of terrorism. Tsarnaev initially received the death penalty for his heinous crimes. However, appeals led to his sentence being converted to multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole. The verdict became a long-distance lockup, as he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars. In at number 4, prepare to descend into a grotesque tale of cannibalism and murder that shocked the world, Jeffrey Dahmer. Gather round, my gore-gawking goblins. Dahmer was responsible for the murder and dismemberment of 17 young men and boys. His crimes weren't just killings. They were deeply twisted rituals that involved sexual assault, necrophilia, and yes, cannibalism. His reign of terror lasted from 1978 to 1991, leaving a string of families devastated and communities forever scarred. Listen well, my justice-judging jackals. Dahmer was ultimately caught and sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms. However, in a gruesome twist of poetic justice, he met his end at the hands of a fellow inmate, bringing his life to a carnivorous conclusion. In at number 3, prepare to detonate the depths of your imagination as we explore the case that led to an unprecedented manhunt, none other than Theodore Kaczynski. Gather round, my blast-bearing banshees. Kaczynski engaged in a nationwide bombing campaign that lasted nearly 2 decades, from 1978 to 1995. He targeted individuals involved in modern technology and industrial society, resulting in the deaths of 3 people and injuring 23 others. Each device was meticulously crafted, a testament to his eerie blend of madness and intelligence. My justice-judging jackals, Kaczynski was ultimately sentenced to 8 life terms without the possibility of parole, safely tucked away in a supermax prison, a fitting end to an explosive eternity of terror. In at number 2, brace yourselves as we enter the shadowy realm of a man who made the dark of night his hunting ground, Richard Ramirez. Gather round, my terror-tinged trolls, for a sordid tale of sadism and savagery. Ramirez's spree encompassed an unthinkable array of felonies, from murder and rape to burglary, inflicting unspeakable horrors on his victims and spanning various ages and demographics. His methods were unpredictable, making him an even more elusive and terrifying figure. My courtroom-curious crows, Ramirez's trial was a spectacle unto itself. From flashing a pentagram symbol on his palm to unsettling outbursts, he seemed to relish the attention. The legal proceedings culminated in 19 life sentences, sealing his darkened destiny of detention. In at number 1, we arrive at the pinnacle of our nefarious countdown. Brace yourselves for the haunting tale of Samuel Little, a man who not only outpaced others in his criminality, but also taunted the world with confessions that stretched the imagination. Listen up, my crime-curious creatures. Little's hunting grounds spanned across the United States, from Florida to California. His victims were often vulnerable women, and the authorities failed to connect the dots between their cases for decades. His modus operandi included strangulation, a method that allowed him to gaze into the eyes of his victims as their lives slipped away, a gruesome detail that adds a chilling layer to his dark tale. Hold your breath, my justice-judging jesters, because Samuel Little was ultimately convicted of 8 counts of first-degree murder. Despite the large number of confessions, legal constraints meant that only a fraction could be tried and proven in court. Nonetheless, those convictions ensured a lifetime of what can only be termed as lethal lamentations for little. And there you have it, my sentence-savoring specters, a glimpse into the lives of inmates with unthinkable life sentences. But remember, these tales are but a window into the darker corners of human existence, and sometimes existence can be a real scream.